Hello, West Denver members of the Mountain West Climate Health Engagement Hub. This video will walk you through this new website of environmental vulnerability indicators so that you can use their information to consider future projects and interventions in West Denver. These projects should address climate and health while aligning with the West Area Plan's goals and Denver's Office of Climate Action, Sustainability, and Resilience. These maps were created by the CU Denver Community Collaborative Research Center and the Geospatial Analysis and Mapping Laboratory at CU Denver, also known as the GAM Lab. To navigate this story map website, you'll scroll from top to bottom. As you scroll down, you'll see that several tabs or hyperlinks appear across the top for each of the maps that we've included. There are 5 indicators we use to identify environmental conditions that signify a problem to be addressed and therefore potential locations for projects or other solutions that would improve climate and health. The 5 indicators include building footprints, impervious surfaces, exposure to environmental hazards and air pollution and other toxins, surface temperature, and tree cover. We then combine those 5 indicators into a single value called final index score. This combined map indicates that a site has problematic environmental conditions such as high temperatures, impervious surfaces, and low tree cover, but may have an opportunity to add an improvement to the site because the building footprint does not cover the entire parcel. Thus, there may be room to add more trees, a garden, or shade structure. You can click on these indicators to jump to the map for that indicator. For instance, I just clicked on tree cover, and here is the tree cover map. Let's click on the building footprints indicator. For each map, we provide a description of the data inputs and a description of the map colors. You see that we highlight dark pink and light pink for this building footprints, which is in shades of pink. Dark pink symbolizes buildings that cover more lot area, while light pink represents buildings that cover less of the lot area that it's on. By default, when you look at a map, the legend for the map is usually fully open on the left side of it. The legend has a scroll bar so that you can view the descriptions of the different symbols on the map. For instance, we have a layer for food stores represented by green grocery carts. For health facilities, represented by a heart with an EKG line across it. Schools are blue triangles, parks are green polygons, neighborhoods are outlined in gray, and building footprints are solid black symbols. At the very bottom of every legend, you will see how the shading is scored for the indicator. For this one, you'll see that it represents building footprint percentage of the parcel. Less than 2% is light pink, and greater than 34% is dark pink. If you want to close the legend, you can click on this black X at the top of it. If you want to open the legend again, you can click on this legend symbol in the lower left, which has several lines inside a black circle. You can also expand the map to your full screen by going to the upper right corner and clicking on these double arrows. Now my entire screen is just the map and not the full website. To return to the website with the embedded map, you can exit the full screen mode by clicking on those black arrows a second time. You can also use the zoom in and zoom out buttons in the lower right, which are the plus and minus symbol. Also, you can move the map around within the window by clicking on the map and dragging it up, down, right, left, or wherever you want to position the map within its window. When you click on the map and move it, your cursor will turn to a clenched hand. In each map, you can click on any parcel to learn more about that parcel. Let's click on this one at 9th Avenue between Decatur and Federal. When I click on it, a pop-up appears, It tells me that the percentage of land the building occupies is 17%. It tells me the address of the building, the number of acres of the parcel, it's 2.94 acres, whether or not the zoning allows an accessory dwelling unit, and what the zoning category and current uses are. So this is IA, which stands for light industrial, and on the site is a factory. In these pop-ups, we also included the values for our other indicators on this website. So impervious surfaces are 13% of this parcel. The exposure to environmental hazards is 72. Surface temperature is high, and tree cover is non-existent according to this data layer at 0%. The Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment's EnviroScreen score is 55.25. In each let's try another parcel. So I will close this pop-up and click on another parcel. This one is Eagleton Elementary School. Another feature of these pop-ups is this box in the upper right-hand corner. You can click on this to move the pop-up out of your way and dock it to the lower left. Now I can see the full extent of the parcel I just clicked on in elementary school. You can also click in the parcel on this Zoom to feature, which will now zoom my window to the full extent of the parcel I just clicked on. For this one, the zoning does allow ADUs on this 3.65 acre site, and it's urban edge, single use, and D1 is a designation that the minimum lot size has to be 6,000 square feet. To understand what these zoning categories mean, you can copy this categorization label into your browser and search with that code and Denver zoning. Google or Microsoft Edge should bring up the Denver zoning code descriptions. This school has a small percentage of impervious surface, so most of it is pervious. Moderately high exposure, high surface temperature, no tree cover, and an EnviroScreen score of almost 60. If you want to view more details about some of these icons, the data layers we've added to the map, you could click on the icon in the center and it will bring up the information for the parcel that hosts that icon. So this green grocery store is it represents a mini discount store. The data for this for food stores does not tell us the name of the store, but you could type this address or copy and paste it again into your browser to find the name of this grocery store. Let's see how these different indicators of footprints, impervious surfaces, exposure, and surface temperature and tree cover combine into a final index score. So we'll click on the final index score link to get to the final index score map. You'll notice that we also say that it's the EnviroScreen map. That's because we've added a feature that allows you to scroll between two maps. When you look at the map, there's a black line with two arrows in the middle. This is a scroll bar. So you can move it all the way to the right to see the final index score, which is yellow, red, and green shading. Or you can move it all the way to the left to see the EnviroScreen score, which is indicated through shades of blue. We created this final index by adding together the 5 indicators into a single score. To do that, we normalized each separate variable into a code that goes from 0 to 1. Because these variables are very different from each other, and the higher the score for most is a negative score, such as high temperatures, but for some, a high score like tree canopy is high, we also reverse their values so that they would all be going in the same direction when we added them together to get a final score. If you'd like to read more about our methodology, you can go back to the top to how to read these maps and plan for change, and scroll down to the data sources and authorship and click on this link to see the methodology. If we go back to the index map, let's look at why we included the scroll bar feature so you can easily compare the EnviroScreen with the index map. We did not include the EnviroScreen in our index because it includes many different variables that were not as pertinent to finding locations for projects that also meet our environmental condition criteria. At the same time, the EnviroScreen is a very useful measure and score, and we wanted you to be able to easily compare the EnviroScreen score for a larger area with the index score by moving this line back and forth. In many cases, the EnviroScreen score is going to be in the same direction and of the same hue as the index, but in other cases, the EnviroScreen score may be low or high, and the index score may be the opposite, high or low. If we zoom into this site up here, south of Colfax, west of Federal, and east of Irving, we see that it's a mix of colors of red, yellow, and orange. On the EnviroScreen, it's a lighter blue, which is a lower risk to people who live there. So that makes us wonder why these parcels above 14th Avenue may be red, while the EnviroScreen score does not indicate they are in the highest values of EnviroScreen. This is a 3.83 on our index, almost 4 on a score of 1 to 5. The building footprint occupies a third of the land. There is a high amount of impervious surface, a high exposure at 68, high surface temperature, and no tree cover. Those all indicate environmental conditions that may need to be addressed, whereas the EnviroScreen score is less than 50. If we want to see why these yellow sites might also be light on the EnviroScreen score, we can click on those sites and move the EnviroScreen scroll bar back and forth to understand why those sites have lower values. This site has a small share of the land occupied by the building footprints, and the remaining land is largely pervious, meaning water can penetrate. Yet the exposure is relatively high at almost 70 at 68.81. The surface temperature is high, and there's very little tree cover at just 1%. So because the building footprint and the impervious surfaces are lower, it probably scored lower, but the high surface temperature and minimal tree cover made this a 2.87 and not the lowest scores, which would have been more in the green area. So because this lot has more impervious surfaces, few trees, and a low percentage of building footprints, this area would be a prime spot for more trees, which could help to reduce the exposure to environmental hazards and pollution. Two other features we added to this website are these static maps for you to download. Just click on any of these images and the map will pop up into a larger size, and you can right-click on the map and click on Save As to save it to your computer. The value of these static maps is if you want to print them or be able to look at them offline. They also have all the different indicators and layers we have added on top of the focus area indicator, in this case, the building footprint percentages. At the bottom, we've added an interactive map of the West Denver hydrology. So you can see where the streams and the flood hazards are throughout West Denver. and then the description of each of these indicators of hydrology. We hope these maps are useful to you as you think about patterns or concentrations of environmental risks throughout West Denver, how these factors might impact the health and well-being of West Denver residents, as well as climate change, and the kinds of changes or improvements you would like to implement based on the goals and priorities in the West Area Plan and eligible uses for CASR funding. Thank you.